So in this video, we're going to take a look at replacing the HDMI port on this PS4 and the eject doesn't work. You press the eject button, nothing happens. If you try and eject with the controller, it just makes a whirring noise and nothing happens. I know there's a disc in there, I did put one in there. This console came to me very cheaply from a local pickup because it didn't display anything. After looking at it, it brought up the PS logo and froze. So after going through the initial settings and reinitializing it, it came on. But before I did that, I was looking at the HDMI port. I'll show you a picture. And you can see there that there's a bent pin shoved back. So I was thinking it was HDMI port at first. I was thinking it was hard drive at first. And then I used the controller on it and reset the settings, like I said, and it booted back into the screen. But I do want to replace this HDMI port. We do want to get the disk drive working, and we want to find out why this eject button doesn't work at all. So I'm going to strip it down. I'm not going to show you a montage of stripped down on it. You've seen plenty of PS4s being stripped down before. If I get to something that's quite interesting, I will stop and show you guys. So next time you see me, hopefully, if I don't find anything good, I'll be when we're looking at the HDMI port. Well, just before we get into this, I just want to say a massive thanks to the coder. He does some absolutely wonderful stuff. If you've never seen his channel, I do recommend going to see the coder's channel. He does amazing things with PS5s, PS4s, Xboxes, etc. and stuff like that. He does some great stuff and he's absolutely fantastic at repairing things. So if you've never seen the coder, have a look in the description, pop over and have a look at some of his stuff. Does some great stuff. And stick about right until the end and we'll have a little bit of a chat, some up and coming things. Yeah, so we'll see you after the video at the end for the outro. Let's get on with it. Right, so the board's completely stripped down. I've not noticed anything inside it. All the screws were really loose inside the board. All the hold down screws, the screws missing, etc. and stuff like that. It had some strange green thermal paste on it for some strange reason, but I've cleaned all that off. Now, we're going to change this HDMI port. I did show you that picture earlier on, but I'll stick it back up there again for you. I'll have a look at. And you can see there that there's one of the pins that's stuck up in the air, so that's no good at all. So I've never changed a HDMI port before, and I'm going to do it the way that the coder has shown us how to do it. I'll pop a link in the description if you want to see the coder and the multiple ways of removing HDMI ports and the best way of removing the HDMI port. So I'm going to try the coder's best way for removing this HDMI port, and what that includes is running some leaded solder into the mount around here. We're going to flip the board back over and then we're going to heat this side of the board from underside until it all melts away, and then we should be able to just lift that HDMI port off. We do have the new one, the new sparkly one just here. So you can see all them little tiny pins in there, and we will go under the microscope later on just to have a look and see if all them joints are actually soldered together or not. So this should be a one-shot fit. It showed you him on the video doing it in about a minute, 2 minutes, removal and refit, but we'll see on how quick that can be done. Right, so that's a bit of leaded solder into the HDMI port in there. Let's try the coder's method. It does say you don't need to put flux on because we're not saving the solder, which is correct. But I like to put some flux on anyway because it helps the solder flow. I'm just going to try and move the camera into a better position so I can work easier and you can see it. So here we go, I've been warming it for a while now. We're setting about 480 on the heat gun and about 50% airflow. We've been warming for a while, for about a minute or so. It's not moved yet. So we'll just keep on going now until it gets hot and hot and hot and hot and hot. So I've just turned the airflow up to about 500 now, because we've been doing this for a while. And not a couple of minutes, like they say, but it might be down to technique at the end of the day. It can be down to tools, etc.
A few moments later.
Right, that's come off. That took some right getting off there, to be honest. I had to crank my temperature up to about 800 or something like that, and then it just fell straight off. So maybe I didn't have the temperature on my equipment quite as high. The F450, I know 800 is quite excessive, but I don't think my temperature gauge on my heat gun's working properly anymore. So I've had to crank it up, and that came off really, really nice, as you can see. So I'm going to give that a clean up now, get some leaded solder on there. And then we'll see if we can pop this other one back on as easy as we just took it off. Right, I think we're ready to try and put it back on. So stupidly, those keen-eyed people there will notice that that is a different HDMI port to what I've just put on. Correct. Here's the other one that we've took off. Just remember, when you take these HDMI ports off, if they're rubbish, throw them away, because you will end up picking it up and sticking it back on the board again, like I've just done. So not only have I never replaced one of these HDMI ports before, I have now replaced two. How mad's that? So there you go. Tip of the day. Knackered HDMI port. Throw it in the bin so you don't mix them up. So that's on now. So I need to get it under the microscope and check the pins and make sure that they're all solid. If not, we would have to touch them up. So let's take it over to the microscope and take a look. So I've got a microscope here, and all I'm going to do is go down here now and just touch each of these pins. It's going to be a little bit difficult for you to see, but I'm going to try. It's going to be hard for me to do this because I'm under camera, but we'll try that one. Yep, that seems solid. That's solid. That's solid. That's solid. 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 Wow, well that's impressive. That is really, really, really impressive. I didn't think for 1 minute that I would have been able to do that easy. So yeah, HDMI ports. I've never done one before. Will I do them again? Yeah, no problem. I've also shied away because I couldn't actually see, because the pins are actually minutely tiny. I mean, you're looking at these pincers and they're needle sharp. Do you know what I mean? You'll stab yourself really easy with them. And then pins are even smaller. So Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is give it a bit of a clean up around that area. We'll get the board put back together into the housing, and then we'll take a look at this disk drive that doesn't eject disks. Wanted to try a disk in it and see if it would eject, and it didn't. So it kept that disk in there. So we need to get the disks back, and we need to get this drive ejecting properly. So let's just pop the top off. Not with that screwdriver, I'm not. So you've only got 3 screws. You've got one at the back there, one at the front, sorry, and 2 at the back. And then this top piece should just lift off, if I remember right. And it'll all jump, but don't worry about that. It's hooked under there. It's got a little hook under it, look. So slide it across. We should just be able to lift that off. Which we have. So we can take a look now and see why it's not ejecting. So we'll pop this disc out, because we don't need a 360 disc inside a PS4. And we can have a look at these rollers down here, and them rollers look crap. In fact, it all looks dirty and horrible in there. So I'm going to give this a clean out, and we're going to pop them rollers out, and we're going to give them rollers a clean as well, because it's just no good like that, and it won't take discs in and out. And all you need is a little bit of IPA in a cotton bud, and it'll work properly again. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean around first, and get all this crap out, whatever this is at the bottom of here. Yeah. Yuck, look at that, mean. So what I want to do is try and get these rollers out now. So that these should just pop out. So you put a screwdriver under, and it should just pop up like that. Same for this side, it should just pop out. It is a bit of a caddy is this one, so just be careful, and that just should lift up. Then when we lift it up, we lift the gear up first, which is the little prop shaft, and you'll see the jaw both drop out. So that's one roller. That's his other roller. They are different, I think. Are they? No, they're not. They're not different. They're identical, so it doesn't matter which way around they go, so don't panic about mixing these two up. So while we've got that out, a little bit more IPA, and we can have a little bit of a clean inside there, and where these rollers sit and run. Yeah, as you can see, and we'll have a bit of a clean on this pad as well, because that always gets dirty off the discs. And it makes that noise then when you put the disc in, it's like kind of a noise, and that should get rid of that. I'm not going to clean the laser because that seems to be working okay anyway. So yeah, so take one of these, bit of IPA. How dirty that is. Right, you ready? Are you ready? Straight away, look. This has got all grease off fingers, food, whatever you want to think, because that goes onto the disc, and then you put the disc into these rubber rollers, and the rubber roller takes it off the disc. So this is going to be minging. Sorry about the nudge. So yeah, so I'm just going to go through that now and clean all these down, and then we'll start to reassemble. Right, so here we are, all back together. So when I put it back together, the disk drive still didn't accept and take discs in. Now there's 2 little rollers at the front of the drive, which you saw me clean with isopropyl alcohol. That didn't work. I've looked up online and they're not dear to buy, they're only about £6 for the pair of rollers. But what I wanted to do for the time being is to get this back up and running and make sure it's working properly, to be fair, before I spend any more money on it. So what I did is I took the rollers and I dropped them into a glass container, and then I put them into boiling water inside the glass container with a bit of water and isopropyl alcohol in with it as well. That in itself has rejuvenated it a little bit. I don't suspect it's going to last too long. I would imagine that I'm going to have to go back in there to replace them rollers, and I do have to go back in there as well because the eject button still doesn't work. It works from the PCB because I can manually operate it, but not down at the front button here. So I need to dig into that a little bit deeper. And also the disk drive, when it goes in and out, it makes a bit of a crunchy noise as it's going in and out. So I'm going to have to go back in again and make sure that it's all running again. But just to show you that it is working and we have got it sorted, I'll just pan to the screen. I should do it down a little bit for you. There's a GTA disc for the Xbox that we've been normally putting in it. So I should be able to just put this disc inside now and it start up and take the disc off me. Which it has done. Now obviously it's not going to read that Xbox game, it's just going to say DVD or something like that. But we're not bothered about that, just as long as it says something and you can clearly see that it's taken the disc in this time. Let's go over the top there. And you can see how it's saying start DVD. Will it play anything if I do? Nah, it's telling me to plug it into a PS4 game. So let's see if it'll eject. Ooh, sounds crunchy, doesn't it? But yeah, it's ejected the disc fine. And of course, as HDMI is working perfectly fine too. So thank you to the coder, because that tip of holding it over the edge of your desk and heating it from underneath and just swapping it straight over is an absolute fantastic trick. It does everything for you if you get it right. It's the first time I've replaced it. I did boo-boo earlier on, as you saw. I took the HDMI port off, cleaned it all up, and then put the same HDMI port back on. Duh! Yeah, well, just remember, chuck them in the bin. So I swapped it again using the same method and dropped the new HDMI port in there, and wow, all the pins were soldered up solidly, all the mounts were perfectly fine. It just did it with one drop in, one hold down, a little bit more heat, and job's done. So awesome, the coder. Thank you very much for that tip. It's not often that you have to go looking on YouTube for how to do things, but I've never done it before, and I just wanted to see what kind of ways that other people change these HDMI ports. But for me, I'm doing it the coder way. So yeah, wow, that is, like I said in the video, the first HDMI port I have ever done. I've always sort of shied away from them a little bit because of how small they are and the tiny little pins, and if you try and lift them too early you will rip traces without a doubt. So I've always sort of shied away from that, but with picking up this PS4 very, very cheaply, I think, if I remember rightly, it were only about 20 quid. When I picked it up, the guy said to me, he got up in the morning and it just freezes at the PS logo and doesn't do anything anymore. I asked him if the console was all okay other than that. He went, yeah, it just freezes on the PS4 logo. So obviously when I got it home, I've started looking at it. I did think it was the hard drive at first, that it was sort of sticking on it. I had a look at the HDMI port and saw that little pin up, and I thought, well, maybe that's just one pin that has the data, the higher data for screen resolution, etc., and it can't accept it. It's not getting that data. I don't really know because I'm not up on my HDMI ports, but that's what my reasoning were. So after getting hold of the controller and resetting it, reinitializing it, it actually booted to the screen, the main screen, so we could actually in effect use the console, which I thought were a little bit strange with that HDMI port pin being stuck up in the air, that it still actually did work. So After I got it to that screen, I thought, wonderful, let's see if the disc tray works. So the only thing that I had to hand was the Xbox 360 game, which was GTA 5. So I thought I'd offer that and see if it took it in and ejected it. Well, it took the disc in okay-ish, kind of. I had to help it and push it in, and then it never came back out again. Obviously it's not going to read an Xbox game, but it does read enough to say that it's a DVD. So we know that the laser's reading. That's cracking stuff. The eject button, yeah, that's a really strange thing, is that it works off your hand, so you can just press the PCB and it ejects perfectly fine. So what that does is it has a little metal bar that comes down and clip that comes down, and the button sits against the metal bar, and it's sort of shaped this way. They do just clip in the front, but it's broken and it doesn't touch to that bar. So I'm going to have to pick up one of those little clips and replace that, and that should cure the eject side of it. When I was tearing it down, wow, it looks like there's a lot of people being inside it. The screws do not want to tighten back up. They're just a little gentle nip all the way around. That's all I could get back in them. So it has been sort of been stripped, rebuilt, over tightened, stripped the screws, etc. Things like that. But it is for my own, and it is for myself, so it's not something that I'm going to be selling on, especially in that kind of condition. If you do want to buy any Xboxes or anything like that, I have got some for sale. If you check the link down the bottom, it's in my Patreon channel. There's a shop there where you can buy Xbox RGH 360s and other things in there. I'm going to be putting some of the PCBs that I've picked up, like the 1581 PCBs. I'm going to put them in there. Other things like that, bits and pieces for the retro scene, are going to go into that Patreon shop. So if you do want to purchase anything, by all means, check the link for the Patreon, pop over there. I will give 10% to my Patreon members, so it is well worth you joining the Patreon to get your percentage off the consoles. So yeah, what's coming up? We've got lots of things coming up. I've had a little bit of time off. I'm on holiday at the moment, just chilling out. It's been my birthday, etc. and stuff like that. So I've not done a real lot. Yeah, I played with the PS4 because that were in my own time and I wanted to get that working again. So we're going to be going back to the Amiga 2000s. We have one Amiga 2000 to change the 6800 port. We've got the other Amiga 2000 to get the PyStorm installed. And we have an A1200 mod that I still need to get recapped. Once them have got out of the way, I can go back onto my own things. What you guys can't see around me, around here, is a tiny little spot where I can stand. Because this floor in this room is absolutely rammed with stuff. You don't want to see it, trust me. And I'd like to be able to get my games room back. So I'm going to have a bit of a downsize. Anything that's not Commodore, I'm going to get rid of. So all that's going to go onto the shop eventually. The Spectrum I'm going to keep. I've got a 48K in a case, a rubber key one. I'm going to keep that. I've got a Spectrum Plus, which I'm looking at over there. It's all boxed up nice. I'm going to keep hold of that. And I've got a Spectrum 128, which I'm going to keep all of that as well. So I've got 3 little Spectrums that I'm going to keep, and the rest is going to go. Anything that's not, I've got MSXs, I've got Atari 65XC, I've got an 800XL that can go, I've got some MSXs that can go. So all these will be popping up on the Patreon shop as and when I load them up on there. So thanks again for watching the 8-Bit Retro Refix, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Do all the good stuff. Hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that, and this, that, and other. And we will see you on the next one. Bye!